Welcome to today's case study. I'm joined here with Megan. I'm really excited to share with you her journey because I know it's going to inspire a lot of individuals who might be struggling with the same signs and symptoms. So Megan, why don't you start by telling everyone a little bit about yourself and where your health journey began?
Okay, so thanks for having me. It's funny that you say, tell me about yourself, because for so long, my life was defined by the health issues that I couldn't even answer that question. So I can answer that question a lot better now. I'm 40. I live in Durham region. I'm single, auntie to several kids. In my day job, I'm a vice president for a large flooring manufacturer, which involves a lot of travel. And in my downtime, I like to create things, and I've got a craft room, and I like pretty things.
I said it on when we were chatting before, but the peonies.
Yeah,
My
behind me. Yeah.
favorite. Awesome. All right. Tell us a little bit about what your health journey was like. You said that you were having a hard time defining who you are because you were so focused on how you felt and not understanding why. So I remember when we first met, you were so organized and great with binders of symptoms.
Yep.
Give everybody a little bit of a background story about, where you were day one when we met.
Sure. So it started early in 2015. I started with rapid weight gain out of nowhere. I gained about 65, 70 pounds in about a year and a half, and then started having all these additional symptoms. So when I met you, I had tried to go back through the traditional medical route, had been to an endocrinologist. They checked me out for Cushing's, which they said was negative, although I had all the exhibiting all the physical symptoms. I'd had naturopaths. I'd had holistic nutritionists, standard nutritionists. I've been through all these people. No one had been able to help me. In a lot of cases, they blamed me, lifestyle choices. I ate the wrong things. I had alcohol. I didn't exercise, all these, things that were my fault. And so when I met you, I had been through that journey and had actually been recommended by someone in one of the Cushing's blogs to create a list of symptoms. So I sent you a spreadsheet with 82 symptoms that I was experiencing at the time, everything from extreme fatigue to hormonal issues to skin issues, water retention. I had a big hanging belly. I had big stretch marks across my belly, all these other things. I had tracked all my menstrual cycles, and I think I actually sent you photos because I had the Cushing, what we thought was Cushing's, was the buffalo hump on the back of my neck, and then also some IBS symptoms. So just a few things.
Just a few things.
Just a few.
And what had you tried in the past to help improve your signs and symptoms?
So I had been to naturopaths, was put on the standard gluten-free, dairy-free diet, different supplements that never really did too much. I felt about the same whether I had them or I didn't. I had tried Weight Watchers. By the time I saw you, I had tried eating really healthy. It didn't make a difference. I ate whatever I wanted. It didn't make a difference. Had alcohol, didn't have alcohol, exercised. No matter what, it felt like no matter what I did, my body was not mine. And the weight was just going to pile on. And it was completely out of control.
And what was your motivation to, try something different if you've been through other practitioners and trying different things? Like, was this your last?
Oh, you were my last hope. You were absolutely my last hope. And you had come highly recommended from someone. And I checked it out. And I think our very first conversation, I told you almost how traumatized I was. That I basically had like PTSD, not to make light of PTSD, but I was just so done. I had tried everything. I was reading everything. I kept going to doctors, life coaches, practitioners saying like, is it this? Is it this? And they would say, no, 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 no. And so I just was done. And you were the first one who seemed to take control. And at least your test don't guess has always resonated with me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love doing testing, especially when individuals have tried multiple things, but it's also important to pair what the tests say with your symptoms and I always try to ask individuals, I know they're coming to me for my opinion, but I ask them like, what do you think is wrong? Like, what do you truly feel? Because everybody's the expert in their own body, especially individuals who have done a lot of personal development and are in tune with what's going on inside of them. You really do know, and my job is just to educate and provide the tools and the resources. And you are always so great, and so I appreciate working with you. Of here, I found this. What do you think of this? And here's this information, and this resonated with me. And I encourage everybody who, you know, interacts with my brand on social media to watch the YouTube videos. Like I do YouTube videos on gut health, and just come back and tell me what resonated with you.
Yeah.
Right?
It was awesome because like when we did the Dutch test for the hormones and I had the little graphs on it and I was writing on them and what does this mean and what does that mean? And so when people would say to me, look, in the first sort of initial sort of step of a diagnosis, okay, my hormones are all over the place. Well, what does that mean? And I could say, well, Brianne says, and I could explain, you know, the interrelationship between the cortisol and the estrogen, the progesterone, the testosterone, and then also why I didn't come up as high cortisol in traditional tests, because I metabolized cortisol like a boss.
Mm-hmm.
And we make the joke about being me being a high achiever.
Yeah. And that's where it comes down to, and it can be so frustrating for individuals who are told, you know, you run the conventional test and, oh, I'm normal. Well, most
Right.
individuals, their life goal is not to exert their time and their energy in doctor's offices saying something's wrong. That's not typically an individual's life purpose. So we
Yeah.
have to look at those reference ranges and say, you know, maybe that's not optimal for you. So
Yeah.
I always look at a range and based off of how you're feeling with your symptoms and determine the treatment cause. I'm the type of person that I need my thyroid gland to be working top notch. Like
Right.
low normal doesn't work for me because I need to feel like I'm energized and happy and motivated. So it's different for everybody.
What's energy? I didn't know what energy was.
Right. Yeah. And we were able to pick up a lot of those deficiencies, and it's frustrating in terms of weight when individuals are told to eat less and exercise more. Well, that's only going to work if you have the proper nutrients to break down your own fat stores as energy.
Yeah.
If not, like, how great is it to, you know, your cells will interpret that as being starving.
Yes.
You have energy, and you only have so much willpower if you're feeling like junk and garbage to, you know, eat a low calorie caloric restrictive diet, right? It just doesn't work.
Oh, absolutely. And one of the things that I liked with MRP, because we had worked on the hormones and sort of the balancing of the inflammation of the hormones first, is it was easy to stick to round one. I didn't have cravings. It was pretty straightforward. The intermittent fasting really worked for me, which is interesting because I was always told that I, you know, don't skip meals. You have to eat, you know, small meals every 6 hours. You know, you have to eat breakfast, which was not me. And it was just interesting to see that my body always knew what it wanted. I just didn't have practitioners that would let me listen to it.
Yeah, that's a huge insight. Like when we've grown up with this misconception that you have to eat multiple mini meals throughout the day to keep your metabolism high, when we're not really looking at, it's hormonally based how you respond to the foods you eat that dictate whether you burn them as energy or you store them as fat.
Right.
So if you're truly not hungry, why do we eat? And even with kids, we're always told, like, you need to finish your plate. And are you full? Are you full? And it's like, you don't have to have that, oh, I'm tired, I'm full sensation to fuel your body properly.
Well, and that's also how you get disordered eating. And that was another thing that I came into the program with, a little bit maybe unique for some people, is that I had tried all these different elimination diets because I did have IBS symptoms. And so it, you know, I went gluten-free, I went dairy-free, I tried this, I tried that, and it didn't matter. And I, at that point, didn't know what to eat anymore because it just didn't seem to matter. And it's hard to eat restrictive for a long period of time.
Yeah, and I'm like, I think too often practitioners in the health space get caught up in the notion that everyone needs to be gluten-free, dairy-free, soy-free, egg-free, nut-free,
right,
nightshade-free. Like, and it's, for some people, it makes a big difference. But it doesn't matter how much of a difference it makes to them if it's not something that they can sustain long term.
Yeah.
So my approach is more, let's just pull it out for a period of time, strategically reintroduce it and monitor you in terms of your food logs and your weight and how you're feeling. If you don't react to it and you feel fine, why take it out? Especially if it doesn't feel, like if it feels restrictive, then there's
Yeah.
no point in keeping it out.
Yeah. And that was one of the hard things for me to trust in you. We had many discussions about gluten because I was so used to the narrow framework mindset. And so I do know now that I have to be gluten mindful. So I can't have it every day, but I can live like that versus the 100% restriction that was always getting pushed on.
Yeah. And there's even like, it won't work for everybody. Like if you truly have celiac, you need to be off gluten. But if it's a gluten sensitivity and it feels really restrictive for you, then let's add in a digestive enzyme that breaks down gluten as a trade-off.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree.
And from when we started working together to now, what would you say was the biggest win or non-scale victory for you in the whole process?
Well, getting my energy back, which is attributed to my newfound diagnosis that happened at the end. But just feeling like I could actually stick to this, I think, is probably the second biggest thing. And finding that flexibility and like the true metabolic flexibility. So with COVID, the first 6 weeks of quarantine, I was eating whatever I wanted, just like everybody else was. And I was eating a lot of dairy and a lot of gluten and a lot of fat for 6 weeks, and alcohol and wine. I only gained 2 pounds at the end of it.
Mm-hmm.
Now I felt miserable, and that's what put me into round 3 of let's buckle down and get this done. But it was more listening to my body at that point. And I said to myself, this is awesome because I could go on a 2-week vacation, eat
Mm-hmm.
off plan, and come back and not worry.
Yep. And that's that's the ultimate goal. It's, we need to really buckle down and focus for 6 weeks. It's going to be restrictive in the sense that it's whole foods. There's not going to be packaged foods. If you want a microwavable meal or dinners that are delivered in little boxes, it's probably not going to be the program for you. But if you're willing to do 6 weeks of whole food nutrition after it, once we figure out what works for you in terms of maintenance, the goal is, because we're optimizing gut health, you're only absorbing, what you need calorically wise from the foods you eat. We're making sure to address inflammation and cortisol, our stress hormone. The goal is you should be able to get away with the maximal amount of food for minimal effort in the most variety.
Yeah. And what was really awesome about the program as well is that I traveled. I was on business trips. I did within the 3rd week of the program. And I made the best choices I could when I was there. I didn't gain any weight.
Yeah.
I didn't gain any weight at all. And I, and I'm sure my weight fluctuated a little bit, and that'd be salt and dehydration potentially. But the fact that I could go on a business trip, even in losing, I mean, I don't like to encourage off-plan behavior in the losing phase. Do as I say, not as I did. But it still worked.
Yeah.
And I didn't know when we started. I still remember saying, I can commit to a week, Brianne. I will be heartbroken if this doesn't work. But it did.
Yeah. And I really think too that the metabolic reset, and I'm of course biased, but I feel like it's dramatically different than other plans because it's addressing so many of the underlying causes of weight loss resistance that's otherwise missed. Like you can't just put someone on a calorically restricted diet and tell them to exercise more. Research clearly shows that that doesn't work, and the underlying cause could be different for everybody.
Yeah.
So cortisol and inflammation in your case, and for others, it's food sensitivities, or it's impaired detoxification, or it's nutrient deficiencies. So we kind of look at everything as a whole, kind of reestablish a baseline, and then we can, create a customized maintenance plan for each individual.
Absolutely.
Well, and what would you recommend for someone, because you've done multiple rounds, for someone who is just starting on their first round of the reset program? What would you say to them if they're sort of in a funk right now?
Trust your body. Trust your body. That was the hardest thing. One of the things I learned on this journey so much about how much your body actually tries to protect itself when it knows something is wrong. The idea of the fat apron across your front of your body and your organs, and it's there to protect you. And so my fat apron was really, really, really big, but that's because my organs were really, really inflamed. And so that was tough at the beginning to kind of reconcile that I had to trust my body. Watching the scale go down so dramatically is very addicting. And I remember in round two, I was so excited. I was losing weight so quickly. And I said, and I did in round one, but like it was quick in round two. I was like, oh, I'm going to have all the weight off in 3 weeks. Plateau for a week. Because then I started playing around with intermittent fasting parameters. And I tried to take control and I tried to force it to lose weight. And my body said, no, no. And as soon as I let go of control and just kind of stuck to the plan, and water makes a big difference, I lost weight immediately.
Water does make a big difference.
Yes, but you got to trust your body. It knows what it needs. It's not always going to release the weight when you want it to, but it will happen.
Yeah, and I like the mindset of, you know, your body, everything that it's doing is serving a purpose to protect you for some reason, right? And we have to get into that mindset, because if it's solely just about the number on the scale and it's solely about the weight, I promise you, you will lose the 20 to 40 pounds and then you'll nitpick something different. So you really have to like love and accept your body as an amazing, you know, being that's able to do so much for us, because you'll nitpick about your hair or your skin or
and I've definitely had moments in and out of the throughout the plan where I've had disordered weeks, and I know I'm being disordered in my thinking. I had issues with weight as a kid. You know, sometimes I would be thinner, sometimes I had gained weight and then lost it. But now the only weight I have left is really right over my intestines, and so I'm kind of like, well, there's a purpose for this. And so I'm perfectly okay with that little bit of weight because I know it's serving a job. And it'll come off when we, you know, continue to heal what's going on. But right now I'm actually like, I thank that part of me because it's doing its job.
And that's a huge shift, and really what the reset is about. It's not like if someone is only doing the reset program, like if we get on a discovery call and they're just like solely focused on the weight, that's their only motivation, it's not about overall health, it's about weight, then it's really not a good fit, because that's a lot of mindset work that you need to work on first.
Yeah.
And what would you say to someone who is maybe on the fence right now, determining whether or not it's a good time coming into the summer or going back to work or traveling? What would you say to them in terms of starting the program now versus later, or potentially not at all?
Now, just start. And then it's being realistic with life, right? So, you know, summer has barbecues and holidays and vacations. And so give yourself a break. So if you eat off plan for 3 days, again, do as I say, not as I do. It's okay. You're not going to lose weight for those 3 days. But did you enjoy it? Did you enjoy it? Did you enjoy that burger? Can you drink more water the next day? Can you intermittent fast? There's so many things that you can do in the meantime. But yes, just start. I know for me originally, I remember because I'd spent so much money searching and working on my health, and I was like, oh, I can't do it. I can't spend any more money. And then I just was like, that's it. This is it. I got to do it. And it's really the best money I've ever spent.
Yeah.
Other than maybe my Dior purse, but you know, whatever.
Well, I hope you get to go out soon on a lot of social events to share your purse.
Yeah. But yeah, it's definitely worth the investment, because if you start adding up, like if you do Weight Watchers, for example, how many, like that's what, 60 to $100 a month? I don't even know anymore. And you're doing that for 2 years and 3 years. It's a lot of money down the drain, and you're not getting the one-on-one coaching, the prioritized individual plan. Like this is, I think, the only program that does work long-term.
Yeah. I do, like, I see a lot of people doing group programs, which is great, but I really think that one-on-one accountability makes a significant difference, because then you can work on, the thoughts and emotions that come up around foods, which is a factor for a lot of individuals.
Yeah.
Or we can also have the conversation of, hey, I'm going to this place. What do I do? And it's all about having intention and having the confidence that you made the choice. So no food is good or bad. We just want to be in control and make that choice ahead of time and then feel good about it. The stress that we project onto foods, far worse than actually enjoying the food.
Oh, absolutely. And I think too, when you mentioned, accountability, not all personalities need accountability.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't necessarily need accountability. I needed support. I need someone to say, it's okay. It's okay. You're going to have to eat off plan because you're traveling. It's okay. It'll be okay. Trust me. Versus the, did you do this? And what about this? And like, it was even hard for me to do tracking in the app originally. I didn't want to. But what I did is I would take a photo with my timestamp app on my camera, and then I'd fill in it at nighttime. So it was really approachable. It wasn't as bad, but I remembered, that brought back memories of Weight Watchers and the point system.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things I really liked was the adaptability. Some people need accountability and someone needs someone on them. And I needed more sort of support. Like it was okay not to be perfect.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I like that. And I'm always really cautious when I'm, explaining to people that we track foods or a picture and we track weight each day. It's not to say that you are good or you're bad. There should be no emotional connection to it at all. It's a way where we can pick up if there's a spike, then something is creating the inflammation. You did not gain a pound overnight because whatever it was, right? Like it's impossible. And creating that mindset that didn't, like, it's not a pound of fat, it's inflammation and retention. Let's figure out the source. And, if it always happens before your cycle, then it's completely normal for my weight to plateau around my cycle. I'll see bigger drops after. Because if you didn't have that mindset and you didn't know, then you might see the plateau and say, oh, this isn't working at all. There's no point.
And that would have been me before I was really on the program. And in the Facebook group, I'm always the one going, if it's less than 3 pounds, don't worry about it. It'll come off tomorrow. Your body's going to do what it's going to do. And that's what I love is that I can get on the scale and my self-worth is not necessarily tied to that number the way it used to be. And absolutely, do I like watching it go downward? Don't we all? But I have times now where I'll lose 2 pounds, go back to where I was, go up 2 pounds from there, go back down 4 pounds, up 2, down 2. And it's sort of this up, down, but that's what my body does. Well, it's trying to find its new equilibrium, but I know that, and it's okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's a great learning opportunity. If you, see the weight going all over the place and the mindset is just like sadness or guilt or negativity, we need to shift that to curiosity. Let's figure out why that might be. Let's learn about the hormones in our menstrual cycle. Let's learn about, salt intake and water retention. Let's learn about inflammation, and let's learn about, how sleep and stress impacts our weight too, and exercise. And it's really, really quite fascinating when we can pick it up. Then the next time it happens, we're like, oh yeah, that's because of this.
Yep, absolutely. And I know now certain foods are going to cause an increase on the scale the next day. And I just shrug my shoulder, or I don't even get on the scale because I know it's going to be there. So I don't worry about it. But that freedom from attaching worth to a number has been amazing.
Yeah. And it gives you, again, like that choice of when you're going to consume those foods. It's not reasonable for me to take dairy completely out of my nutrition plan. I've switched over to sheep because that seems like it's better for me.
Right.
And it tastes more like dairy than goat. I find goat just it's good, but it's goat. It's different.
Yeah.
But I know that every time I have some dairy, I'll get acne. So if I'm doing a big photo shoot, probably not going to have dairy the day before, but it's my choice, and now I'm equipped with the knowledge to figure out why that happens.
Yes, absolutely. And for me, that's fat. If I get fat above a certain level, I better be close to home.
Yep.
I know that.
And unfortunately, not just like the ketogenic diet is great for some individuals who are able to process energy from fats and are willing to do that nutrition plan long term. If you're not willing to do it long term, it's going to have different consequences in terms of changing your gut microbiome, and that's why we see weight coming back on. But so many people are like, this is what I've done, this is what my mom did, my sister's done, and everyone's done keto and everyone should try it because it's going to work for everyone.
Right.
And if it doesn't make you feel good and it's not working, then there's no one size fits all approach.
And the fact that we tried carnivore with me and we learned a lot about carnivore, we wouldn't have found the bile acid malabsorption,
Mm-hmm.
which is life changing. So I eat meat and potatoes, blood squash right now. And there's a magic combination in that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's
And
a drastic difference in my gut health. The weight has still been falling off, but my overall health and inflammation has dropped down once we started figuring out that fat was an issue. So I need moderate fat and I need a carb.
mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I still can't have lettuce, and I'll probably never be able to have lettuce, and that's just the way it is.
I would like to get you to the point of
I would like some variety, yes. But but wasn't it interesting that everyone always told me it was the gluten and the dairy, and then once that was gone and we really separated things out, we discovered it's a lot of the vegetables like broccoli and cauliflower and how much pain that gives me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, those are like, the problem is people are like, cauliflower pizza, cauliflower rice, like eat all this cauliflower. I'm like, cauliflower is a gas forming food. So to not be able to eat 2 heads of cauliflower to a degree is normal.
Yes.
If those foods are not working for you, then stop eating them. Maybe not forever, but let's figure out why, heal up the gut, and find what works for you. Not everybody has to have broccoli and cauliflower every single day. It's fine.
And I would, believe me, I'd like some variety. But because of the Crohn's diagnosis, which happened at the end of the journey, I most likely will get there. It's just once I know what that treatment plan may or may not look like, I'm still waiting to find out. My hope is that I will get to, protein's fine. My squash, my potatoes are great. I'll have some more vegetables. I'm pretty good with fruit. If I can get a little bit more variety, I would be happy.
Mm-hmm.
And then once or twice a week, pardon?
You've come a long way too in terms of inflammation and nutrients and healing up the gut. Like if we look back from day 1 with 82 symptoms to now, as long like you're on a great trajectory, that the goal should be to get you to a point where more and more foods come into your nutrition plan.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm down to, I think, something like 3 symptoms that are still like fairly active, but they're minor, and they're not like debilitating. And the fact that for most of the symptoms that I had, I know what causes them. So when my hormones go out of whack, and I can usually feel it, I know when I'm starting to be insulin resistant again. And that's what happened after my 6-week tour of duty through whatever I want, in COVID. And the symptoms came back. It was like, okay, that was a little bit, this is like, again, that balancing thing that we've always talked about is I went a little too far down the spectrum that way. So now I got to pull it back to center.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not that I can never have it. I just can't have it all the time. And 6 weeks is a long time to just eat whatever you want when you have the food issues and the IBD, I guess now, symptoms that I have.
And do you find that you have the tools to be able to bring yourself back now on your own?
100%. So before, you'd have like crazy cravings, and you'd be like, oh, I can't do this, and gluten-free is awful, and all those things that I said to you in the beginning. And I can feel in my body now when I need to move back to center, even to the point, because we've figured out so much and I can really feel, I can feel when a food now is going to irritate the Crohn's. Like I walked down the grocery store aisle with my mom 2 Saturdays ago, and I think it was the snack cake aisle or something, and my stomach started cramping. I said, well, I guess these aren't on the plan. And I don't even like that stuff anyway. But it's just interesting. I can feel now because I'm so in tune with the different fluctuations when it's time to come back to center.
Oh, that's awesome.
But then at the same time, if I want dessert and I genuinely want dessert, I have dessert and it's awesome.
Yeah. And have you, like, I know we're trying to expand your foods as much as possible, but would you say, like, even for an average individual who's willing to consume a whole foods nutrition plan, 70 to 80% of the time, is this something that they could sustain realistically long term in terms of maintenance?
Absolutely, 100%. And I think the difference too is when you're in balance, you don't have the craving.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have that need for the sugar, the fat. Sometimes it's emotional habit. Like I drink a lot of coffee. I love my coffee. It's emotional habit. Will I start working on maybe switching out some of that coffee? Probably. But I think this is completely sustainable.
Even when traveling.
Even when traveling. So traveling wise, I'll probably go back to carnivore-esque. I mean, I have to watch the fat. I do find that it's harder to get, like they usually have steamed broccoli, but in the winter they might have squash, or I can get potatoes, and a little butter in the potatoes isn't going to hurt me from a dairy point of view. So I usually have options plus intermittent fasting.
Yeah. And that's the thing I love too. As long as you have the proper nutrients and your body can burn its own fat for fuel, you can actually go a pretty long time benefiting from the improved mental clarity and the energy and the stability of intermittent fasting. Like I know the days where I'm like, okay, I've got something big in the morning, I need to be really energized and on point. I'll just have my black coffee, and it's 3 o'clock, and I'm like, might be a good time to break my fast, but it's not a need. Like I'm not controlled by food.
Yeah. And then also at the same time, I've noticed if I have a day where I don't eat things that are very nutritious or like good quality calorie dense, I am hungry sooner the next day. So instead of saying, no, 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 I can't eat, it's 12 o'clock, it's like, yeah, you didn't feed yourself nutrients yesterday. Of course you're hungry.
That's such good insight. Yeah.
And then I try to make sure I eat something. And then also being prepared. This week's been a little rough. I haven't had as much food ready to go in the fridge. And then that does lead to ordering in, which is not always great. But then I know that that's what's caused it. And I need to this weekend make sure I get some cooking done, like chicken breast in the Instant Pot. Really straightforward. The sheet pan meals from the cookbook. Really straightforward. I call them, lazy MRP.
Mm-hmm.
And, I don't really have a lot of time to cook. So it cooks while I still continue to work. And then the food's there when I'm ready.
Yeah. Those are my recipes. I like just like pull it out, throw it in. Barbecue is super easy in terms of the summertime, and it's really fast, efficient foods. The Facebook is great, the Facebook group.
Yeah.
But some people are really big foodies and they post like elaborate recipes. I'm like, oh, that's nice. Might try that. But yeah, if you're a big cook or you're not a big cook, you can absolutely find things that will work. And it's just, there's, whole foods that you can find at your grocery store. So your kids can eat this way, your family can eat this way. Might be a little bit different in terms of, sizes and different sides that they're having, but overall, healthy whole foods are for everybody.
Yeah, I think it's totally approachable.
Anything that you wanted to leave off with, or any words of wisdom that you wanted to share?
I think I
covered a lot.
Pardon?
I said we covered a lot, but anything else words?
Don't give up.
Mm-hmm.
It's finding the right practitioner. So if you don't jive with the person, then they may not be the right practitioner for you. Keep trying. Do this program. Work with you. I tell everybody that. But yeah, I've been through so many different doctors and practitioners, as we've said, and now I know pretty clearly whether someone's going to be part of my health team or not.
Yeah. And sometimes it just takes a different lens and a different approach. And you do really have to be able to connect and resonate with your health team. I think that's a big component. And if you don't, then seek a second opinion. Everybody, especially in functional medicine and naturopathic medicine, or like whole foods, alternative health, complementary, whatever you want to call it, everyone practices dramatically different. So ask for referrals, have some consults, figure out what works for you. And a colleague of mine says the doctor of the future is you, or the client or the patient. And that is so true. Like, part of your success is being an advocate for yourself and doing your own research and asking questions and really understanding, what are the benefits of this, the risks, the alternatives, and what if I do nothing? RAN is the acronym. So, if your practitioner is not providing you with all of the information for informed consent, then it's not to always place blame on the practitioner, but it's an opportunity for you to take control and really question your health and your plans being recommended.
And keep your copies of all your own medical records. That's one of the things that I very much realized, because you can get somewhere and they don't have the test, and then it's a waste of everybody's time. I keep copies of everything. And I have it online and I have it in a binder. And I find that when you're dealing with different practitioners and you're trying to get them to take you seriously, the more you present your symptoms like a doctor to a doctor, the more attention and the ability for them to take you seriously.
And you can pick up trends too, right? Like, you might be in a rut today and, things are not moving the way that I want to. But if you can look back and say, oh yeah, I felt like this 6 months ago, it's a big improvement, then you can get out of your own way sometimes and just do the best you can where you are right now, and trust in the process and know things can get better.
Yeah, I would 100% agree with that.
Thank you so much for sharing your story and being patient and being so inspiring to just get to the root cause and address the root issue and standing up for yourself and knowing your truth and what works for you and what doesn't. It's always a pleasure to get to work with patient but determined individuals like you. So thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for being so awesome, even when I get triggered.
This might trigger you, but just hear me.
Don't say gluten. Don't say gluten.
Oh, could you imagine if your treatment plan was like a high-fat, gluten-free, dairy-free diet like that?
Okay. My stomach's clenching as you say that. That is not me.
I know. We have to, it's individualized. Everybody is different. So yeah, whole foods, but with flexibility for each person, for sure.
Absolutely.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much.